right, and we try to continue with step 9 here. We're going to start with making amends to ourselves, but there's a lot going on here because I'm in the wild, so could be a surprise at any time. Why? Stop, please. Okay, step 9. Make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. You are not responsible for the programming you picked up in childhood. However, as an adult, you are 100% responsible for fixing it. By Ken Keyes Jr. from The Power of Unconditional Love. All right. And here we go. Making amends to ourselves. We've talked about our amends on the first 2 lists. Now let's move on to the last list, the amends we owe ourselves. It can be difficult to approach others and apologize. It can be quite a task to forgive others for what they have done wrong to us. But making amends to ourselves, forgiving ourselves, can be the hardest part of our program. All of recovery, all of what we are going through, has to do with making an amends to ourselves. Giving ourselves permission to have our feelings is an amend. Giving ourselves permission to be alive and to be happy is an amend. Taking gentle, compassionate, loving care of ourselves is an amend. I think we got someone about to put a boat in here, and I'm on the wooden side of the boat ramp. All right, and we continue. Learning to set boundaries. Learning to set boundaries, be direct, and stop defeating and victimizing ourselves is an amend. Learning to stop allowing others to mistreat and control us is an amend. Learning to stop expecting perfection from ourselves, own our power, and be who we are is an amend to ourselves. Let's try just a little bit more this way. Oh man. And admit, friends, I can't tell if it's crooked or not. Learning to stop expecting perfection from ourselves and own our power and be who we are is an amend to ourselves. Learning to listen to and trust ourselves is an important amend. Learning to trust our instincts and value our feelings and needs is an amend. We may have many amends to make to that frightened, abused, or neglected child within us. Good job, baby. Good job. Amends for being so critical, negligent, and shameful. We owe ourselves an apology and changed behavior for not allowing ourselves to receive the love and the nurturing we need, especially from ourselves. Well, looks like we'll be contending with the wind. Okay, there we go. Now it's quiet for like a minute until the guy starts putting his boat in. Whew. Let me try this again. I'm distracted by how windy it is. All right. We owe ourselves an apology and changed behavior for the sometimes terrible ideas we have maintained, dwelled on, and believed about ourselves. That we aren't lovable, aren't good enough, can't think, don't deserve success, don't deserve to have fun, or don't deserve to recover, are untrue beliefs we have assumed, excuse me, beliefs that need correcting as part of this program of making amends to ourselves. Learning to listen to and trust ourselves is an important amend. Learning to trust our instincts and value our feelings and needs is an amend. I just don't love myself, said Karen. I don't believe I deserve love. I don't believe I deserve good things from life. Most of us don't, I replied. That's why we're in recovery. That's an important part of what recovery is, changing those beliefs. Jason, who had been recovering from codependency for 6 years now, writes letters to himself as part of making amends. When something is bothering him, when guilt and fear return, when he wonders what he deserves, he sits down and comforts himself in a letter. He tells himself all the good, comforting, nurturing things he and the child inside him need to hear to feel better. Excuse me. I've gotten pretty nuts and bolts about making amends to myself, he said. My amends to myself look like writing letters to myself. I had my dad in for therapy. I had my mother in for 2 sessions. And in between the sessions, I went and bought myself a teddy bear. I learn more every day about taking care of the child within. I neglected and belittled her for years and years. I tried to ignore her. I hoped she would go away. What happened was that she screamed louder and louder until I began to listen. I spent years looking to other people, looking to relationships, to take care of the child within me. I looked to relationships to comfort my fear and nurture, support, and protect the child within. I wasn't. I looked for relationships to be there for me because I wasn't willing to be there for myself. I didn't know how. Goodness, excuse me. Now, slowly, I'm learning a better way. I'm learning how to listen to that child. I see now that we are focused on the book glare. So it's like the wind. There's the book glare. How about we go back and forth and get a little bit of both? I feel like everything's fair. Again, here comes the boatman. Now, slowly, I'm learning a better way. I'm learning how to listen to that child I abandoned most of my life. I'm learning ways to get in touch with her, hear her, and give her the comfort, nurturing, protection, guidance, and discipline she needs. Sometimes she needs the simple, warm, warm care a 3-month-old child needs. Sometimes she needs to run, play, or sing the way a 4-year-old child would. Sometimes she needs to listen to When You Wish Upon a Star and cry or dream or wish. Sometimes she needs to say how sad or afraid she is and simply be acknowledged and validated. This behavior of nurturing the child within is not foolish, as I once believed. It is healing. A few moments a day of caring for that child frees my adult to be rejuvenated and responsible, and lets my child feel safe, warm, and cared for. It also enables me to be a nurturing, effective parent to my children. They have taught me much about my inner child and what she needs. My inner child helps teach me about what my children need. I've learned finally to release the anger and resentment I felt toward myself for all that has happened to me, for other people's inappropriate behavior toward me, and for my mistakes, and for being me. I have harbored anger and resentment towards others in my lifetime, but the silent, denied rage I felt toward myself was the most profound and the most difficult to let go. I had no idea until years into recovery from codependency how angry I was at myself. It took me a long time to uncover my rage, anger, and resentment toward others, but a much longer time to detect those buried feelings toward myself, to love, nourish, and nurture myself freely, to stop the path of destructive relationships, to release my blocks to love and intimacy. I had to let go of this anger. I needed to forgive myself and develop a better relationship with myself. I needed to talk better to and about myself. I needed to forgive and forget. I needed to stop punishing myself for the wrongs I had done and also for what others had done to me. My anger and rage toward myself were quietly killing me, and I didn't even know it until one day they surfaced. I exploded in a tirade towards myself that astonished me with its ferocity and loathing. I saw the great part of my self-resentment had played in my fears, in my needs to be perfect, even in my need to control. If I made another mistake, if something or someone disappointed me again, I would become even angrier at myself. I saw how my self-rage had continued to attract experiences to me that would help draw it out so I could deal with it. Sometimes when I am angry with others and don't deal with my feelings, I keep seeing things to reinforce my anger.
Yeah, they seem to be about the color right there. What they've been hitting one.
You been catching right off the bottom, or they been up more?
I think they've been catching them off the bottom. The bottom and
All right, let's we go. Let me get back on track here. If I made another mistake, if something or someone disappointed me again, I would become even angrier at myself. I saw how my self-rage had continued to attract experiences to me that would help draw it out so I could deal with it. Sometimes when I am angry with another and don't deal with my feelings, I keep seeing things to reinforce my anger. In the same way, I kept doing and seeing things about myself that reinforced my self-resentment. I kept picking on myself, and I wouldn't let myself live or be fully alive. My anger wouldn't let me love or be loved. It wouldn't let me love myself until I released it. It became time truly to make amends to myself. Recovery helped me do that. It assisted me in finding the child within. It also helped me discover the healer within, a concept discussed by many in recovery. There is a frightened, vulnerable child within each of us, but there is also a powerful healer, protector, and nurturer within that can take care of that child and help it and ourselves heal. We need to begin addressing ourselves in a loving way, a way that will enable us to heal, a way way that is self-respecting, self-trusting, nourishing, and nurturing, in a way that is respectful of others. As with our other amends, the process begins with willingness, with doing what is obvious, and with asking for and receiving divine guidance in the process. We will be shown all we need to do to take care of ourselves with others and to begin taking loving care of ourselves if we are open to that. We will be set free from our anger and resentments towards others and ourselves. We will be healed. That is the miracle of this process. Everything we need will come to us when we are ready for it. No, friends, I did not take Claritin. And when you park right next to the water, the pollen is in the wind. And it's like being snowed on with whatever's coming off this water. And I'm only human, after all. So we have a couple more. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 4.5 pages left. That's using regular math. But due to this breathing thing, alright, let me try rolling the window up again. Oh, great. And see, then you have to see me. So it's like, you want to hear me, or you want to have to see me? So I look prettier after this morning. Alright, we're gonna do it. Loving and forgiving ourselves. This is a step where we apologize to ourselves and others, but we do more than apologize. We clearly own and take responsibility for our behavior toward ourselves and others. This step gives us permission to be who we are now and to be who we once were. It gives us permission to forgive ourselves and feel good about being who we are, regardless of what we have done. It wipes the slate clean and gives us an alternative to feeling guilty and ashamed. We can now experience self-awareness, self-esteem, and self-acceptance based on self-responsibility. We have been given a gift in all of the steps, but we've been given a special gift in steps 4 through 9. The gift is a clear process for freeing ourselves from guilt and shame, for forgiving ourselves, and for correcting those behaviors that need correcting. These steps mean we no longer have to punish ourselves. We no longer have to feel terrified or ashamed about our behavior. Whether it is a minute slip or a major indiscretion, we have a specific formula now for freeing ourselves from mistakes and imperfections and for creating harmony in our relationships. We cannot control the other person, and how he or she feels about us. But a powerful chain of healing is set in motion when we take responsibility for ourselves. When guilt hits, when shame hits, when an old belief or an old behavior we visited on ourselves arises, we know now we have a choice. We can repress or deny, which for many of us is our old way of reacting. We can become defensive. We can run. We can hide. Or we can embrace this formula of looking within, identifying our part, talking to another person and God about the incident, admitting it to ourselves, becoming willing to make an amend, and actively making that amend. Then we can let it go. We can let go of the largest and smallest guilts that we have. We can forgive ourselves and we can forgive others. These steps tell us we don't have to be perfect. There is safety and comfort in this formula for self-care. These steps. They tell us we can love and accept all of ourselves and accept our pasts as long as we are willing to take responsibility for ourselves. When I first began working this step, I was terrified. The thought of making appointments with people, then opening my mouth and admitting I had done something wrong, was frightening. I had a strong inner rule that demanded that I be perfect. And the act of admitting my wrongs and apologizing for them was very difficult. I felt threatened by admitting my wrongs. I already had so much guilt, and if I acknowledged and admitted wrongdoing, I was afraid I would have even more. I was so defensive about my behaviors because I felt so badly about myself. What I was about to learn was that making amends gave me a self and self-esteem. I reached a point where it became easier to go to people and admit to my wrongs, but I still had another place to journey. That place was a place of compassion for myself, a place where I was able and willing to notice the wrongs and harms I had done to me. These are still harder to see and care about than the wrongs I have done to others. As with other behaviors, it gets easier with time. The more I practice loving myself, the more habitual it becomes. The more open I am to taking responsibility for my behavior and making amends, the less guilt I feel. Denying a wrongdoing toward ourselves or others doesn't make the wrongdoing or the guilt go away. This step does. Take it, trust it, and let guilt go. When we have taken the actions called for in these steps, we are free to do that. It is not a punitive step. It is not a step to be feared. Like the other steps, when we make a human effort to work it, we will be rewarded with a spiritual bonus. As one recovering man said, we will receive the grace we need to live comfortably with ourselves, others, and our past. That was my man voice. The nuts and bolts step. The last section before the activities and the end of this chapter. The nuts and bolts steps. Now we have finished with what many in recovery call the nuts and bolts steps. Often we will find ourselves instinctively returning to the step we need. Go there freely as often as necessary. Go there whenever you need the healing that this or any step has to offer. There are many things in life that can't be trusted, but we can trust these steps. They are always there for us. Please do not worry about working the step too soon. It will find you when you are ready. You will find yourself in places with people, in circumstances, and it will be time to begin taking care of yourself with people. We will begin to see how we have been treating ourselves inappropriately too. Often these insights are gradual. We receive the insights, the direction for change, and the opportunity to make amends as we are ready to handle them. Trust timing. Trust the process. Trust the steps. Trust what will happen if we work them. And then here it says, listen to what it says in the Big Book, pages 83 through 84. So it looks like I'm going to read that to you. We should be sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble, without being servile or scrapping. Whatever. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. And then that was the end of that. Reading from the Big Book, all that. Recovering alcoholics were the first to receive these promises in return for working these steps. Some believe that alcoholics are more bent than others on working these steps because their lives depend on it. We too can be committed to working these steps and receiving the benefits in our lives because our lives, the quality of our lives, and the quality of our relationships, and the quality of love in our lives do depend on it. And then the activities. Now these are a little bit long, and there is a whopping 6 of them. And then we're done. Activities for step 9. Number 1, have you made any amends to other people yet? How did this feel? Number 2, if you are ready, set some amends goals. For instance, name the people to whom you would like to make amends. Set a reasonable deadline and a goal for apologizing, wherever that is appropriate. Be as specific or as general as you want. You may want to make your goal to become aware of the people I owe apologies to, and then make those amends. Or you may have a list of names and incidents and want to set a deadline for talking to these people. Number 3, what is the relationship that is bothering you the most right now? What do you need to do to take care of yourself in that relationship? What would you say? If you were free to be entirely honest with that person about your behaviors, your feelings, and what you wanted and needed, how have you discounted yourself or not owned your power in that relationship? How have you discounted or devalued the other person? And number 4, excuse me, Lord. What is the biggest guilt you have right now? Using the steps as a formula, how can you deal with that so you can be done with the guilt? Number 5, for any amends you have made, Lordy, for any amends you have made, write a self-forgiveness affirmation that helps you let go of guilt. A sample affirmation might read, I love and accept myself. I have taken responsibility for my behavior with fill in the blank, and I am now free to let the past go. We can also write a similar affirmation about forgiving others. I have dealt with my feelings toward fill in the blank, and I have forgiven him or her. I have let go of my feelings towards him or her, and I allow peace and love to settle into our relationship. All right, and the final one, number 6. Explore the concept of your inner child and your inner healer. Use letter writing to get in touch with both author and lecturer Lucia Capaccioni has devised a simple method for doing this. She suggests drawing pictures with your non-dominant hand to allow the inner child to express itself. You can also write a letter with your non-dominant hand. Ask the inner child what it is really feeling, fearing, wanting, needing, or worrying about. Then let it draw a picture or write a letter to you. Now, respond with the dominant hand. Draw a picture showing how you would like the problem to be resolved or how you would like to be feeling. Write a letter to that child, supporting, comforting, and protecting the child. In your picture and letter, assure the child within that all will be well. If you hear some things that the child within needs, take action. Respond. If it wants to go for a walk, dance, sing, be held, hold, be alone, listen to music, or rest, give it what it needs. These efforts do not have to be complicated or complex. The simpler, the better. Capaccioni's book on this process are included in the bibliography at the back of the book. Okay, so this lady, this part, I don't even know. It's Lucia, Lucia, and then the last name, in case you want to look this up, Capacione. And that is the end of step 9 from our book. You know the book. Remember, it's this lady. And so step 10 will be next. There's only 12 of them. Step 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Yeah, that one's not a lot of fun. Once you're in the swing of it and the habit of it, it gets a lot easier. I want to thank you for letting me read to you. I appreciate you, and we are done.